Hey everybody, welcome to the Context Machine, episode 676. I'm Bryan Chaffin, and you're about to have a surprise.
And I'm not Jeff Gamet, so please make sure you check us out at online home at the contextmachine.io. That's contextmachine.io, and I'm John Keat.
Yeah, thanks, John. Anyway, you can also use contextmachine.io to reach out to us. You can find us on Mastodon at Context Machine or on Blue Sky at contextmachine.bsky.social. And John,
Today's episode is sponsored by Incogni and Rogue Amoeba.
Right.
Makes great software.
We're going to tell you more about them. I'm going to tell you more about them later in the show. John is here today because Jeff is sick. So if you want to reach out with some love and well wishes to Jeff, that would be great.
Feel better, Jeff.
Yep. Feel better, Jeff. And John, man, I really appreciate you stepping in and doing the show. And so I'm in several chat groups, iMessage groups with John. And there's one thing he's always going on about, and that's robot mopping. Well, I mean, robot vacuums, but robot vacuums that mop. And I figured this would be a fantastic opportunity for us to talk about that. We'll also talk about 3D printers later in the show. But let's lay the groundwork, John. Let's talk about, because the robot vacuums that can mop are a very it's a very distinct subset of robot vacuums.
It is, and it's an awesome set for something I've been really building upon my entire life, and that is maximizing my laziness. So it's a very important part of my life for that reason alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started, gosh, I don't even remember. When was the first like iRobot Roomba? Like, when was that released? That had to be like, was it late 90s or was it like
I'm gonna look it up. So you can go ahead and talk. First Roomba, 2002.
2002. So okay, it was relatively early, and I remember getting one of the first ones, and this was, and I remember getting it from my mom, and she turned her nose up at it summarily because she's one of those people that, if the carpet didn't have the pattern of vacuum lines in it, she was not happy. And then she was also upset that somehow you didn't learn to fly and manage to fly over that so that the pattern would stay in place. And I thought, this would be a really cool thing to help her out as she got older, and she was not enjoying it at all. Those early days, they were rather weak and rather stupid.
Yeah, and they used a random chaos theory rather than a pattern.
Right. They bumped into everything, and to be fair, they were terrible vacuums relative to a really full-fledged, super strong, normal canister or upright vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
But what they were good at, and they were good at, like, if you had a wood floor or tile floor, just kind of it wasn't going to clean that floor, but it was going to maintain it. So if you just had dust collecting, and it somewhat was mediocre at also maintaining, like if you had deep pile carpet, it wasn't going to get it clean, but it might reduce the amount of times you had to do a really good vacuum cleaning of your house. So those early days, yeah, and they were just beyond stupid because the way they vacuum is you'd start it, you push a button, there was no dock or anything for them to go to, so the battery would last however long it would last, and it would just keep bouncing against the walls. There was no start or stop. You would stop it when you got sick of hearing it, and it would bounce and pick a random angle to turn at and move in that direction until it hits something again and bounce it like a pinball, except there was no figuring out what the trajectory was going to be. It was mostly random. And the idea was if you let it
was chaos theory. I think they stated that.
Yes. And I mean, it was tough. It was the very early days of kind of home robotics, and we're still relatively speaking in the early
Hmm.
days of home
Hmm.
robotics. But yeah, the idea was if you let it run long enough, eventually it would cover the room or the house that you were running things at well enough that it would do a decent job of at least maintaining. And that was the case for helping out. Like I said, that's the way I try to sell it to members of the family on the early days. But as things progressed, they got better and better and better over the years. I'm not sure when they started like trying to actually navigate it. They haven't been navigating well till relatively recently, but I think they may have started to try to navigate where it would kind of map the your home, figure out where the rooms are, figure out where obstacles were, and try to not just randomly go through the house, but to have some kind of path that made sense to make sure it cleaned everything. And that's probably in the last, I don't know, it's definitely in the last 10 years, I think, where that kind of started,
I
but
think it's
it's
only like
probably only gotten good at
6 or 7 years, but I could be. Let me.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look it up. Keep talking.
Yeah, but the like even those early I had some of those early robots and they were just terrible. I mean, one, it would take forever for it to learn the room because it kind of had to bounce around to try to figure out the bounds of this room. Um, and even like some of just the last generation of iRobots robots, it would take, a good few hours for it to go through around and try to map the boundaries of these of your room and house. And the newer robots, they use LiDAR. It takes maybe 2, 3 minutes to go through and like 1,800, 2,000 square feet. It'll just give you actually an unbelievable good if you don't have like blueprints to your home, it'll give you this great floor plan layout that's pretty darn accurate with the more modern robots, which is cool.
The first robot vacuum. This is according to the AI overview in Google. The first robot vacuum with laser-based mapping, allowing it to navigate in straight lines and map its surroundings, was the Nito Robotics XV11, introduced in 2010. So 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah, and they were not very good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, and but all that just like, much of technology, it everything improved generation after generation. And I remember one of the first robots was some of the early, and I had a lot. I mean, I have a graveyard of, I have probably almost as many graveyard robots as I have graveyard iPhones, and in drawers all over the place. Uh, yeah, it's sad. They're very bulky, but they started to get stronger. Like some of the where the suction was, it's still not as good as a really large robot. The physics can only do so much, but they started to get pretty useful where it was really doing a decent job of vacuuming deep pile carpets. So it was never going to do as well as a full robot, but sorry, a full vacuum. But you could definitely go further between doing a nice clean of the house like that. It would maintain things much longer, and it was good for kind of high laying, kind of like pet hair and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It could pull that in a decent bit and help out. So it was very useful. It just got more and more useful and more intelligent, and let me be more and more lazy, which is the most important thing there is.
Well, so longtime listeners will have heard me mention this before, but I live in a multi-floor townhome, and rather than hauling my robot vacuums from floor to floor, which I would simply not do, I do have my old Dbot Osmo 900, I think it is, which was a vacuum / mopping robot. The mopping part was not good, but the vacuum part is actually pretty good. It stays on the first floor, which has only rugs to deal with, no carpet. And it does a really good job of keeping the pet hair in particular. My dog Ichabod likes to shed. And it does a very good job it does an excellent job of keeping my floor free of pet hair, for sure.
And does the hair get tangled up in the kind of beater bar?
Yes.
Usually these things have, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to cut it from time to time.
Yes, I do. For sure. And then I've got my Dyson, I forget what that thing's called, but it's
very pretty robot.
Yeah, I don't know if it's pretty. Fancy. It's fancy looking. But anyway, it sits on my second floor because it does a lot better with carpet. So, by the way, I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you. I cannot use my Dyson on the first floor, which has mini rugs for Ichabod, because Ichabod plays the floor is lava.
Mm-hmm.
That's his daily existence. He's terrified of the hardwood floors because he slips. And so I've got all these rugs everywhere for my beautiful, precious boy to be able to walk. And my Dyson, it sucks those rugs up into it. It totally chokes on rugs. It's too strong, and it doesn't know how to not be strong, apparently.
Yeah, that's a feature of some of the newer robots. They will cycle down. One, they will let you set the level of suction in different areas, but they will also cycle down automatically by detecting when
right,
they're on cycle up, which could be a problem too.
I feel like my frickin' Dyson should be able to do that, but whatever. I keep it on the second floor anyway, and I've got all carpet, unfortunately, on the second floor, and it does a fantastic job of vacuum. It doesn't do a great job at navigating, but it does a fantastic job of vacuuming. It is a very good vacuum.
So, don't you have a little bit of tile in the bathrooms upstairs though?
I do. That's a good point. I don't. I keep those doors shut. And I don't even think about it. I don't even think about opening them because I don't want the dog to drink out of the toilet. So I keep the door shut, and it's not even in my mindset to open it for the vacuum. I could.
Yeah. So I got so extreme with these robots that when I did a renovation of the apartment, I designed everything so it wouldn't even have floor dividers, because back when I was doing this, the robots were not very good at getting over particularly the mopping robots were not good at getting over the humps of these room dividers. So I had everything just smooth, and even to the point where the shower I made it integrated into the floor so that the robot could go in and clean the shower. Again, I will spend an obscene amount of money to maximize my laziness. That
might be peak John.
Yeah.
That might be peak John.
I can't tell you how glorious it is not to have to do that.
Okay, so
it doesn't replace. You still have to clean the house, but I mean, it lowers the serious cleans.
Oh, right, for sure. All right, so that's the groundwork. So let's take a second out to talk about Incogni. Incogni is a service that helps protect your personal data from data brokers who collect, aggregate, and sell it. The issues arising from this include increased spam, identity theft, and loss of control over your personal information, which are exacerbated by the frequent data breaches reported annually. Incogni addresses these problems by, firstly, they contact data brokers on your behalf to request the removal of your personal data, handling any objections from data brokers, and then continuously monitor and ensure your data stays off the market with repeated removal requests. I've seen this personally with the dashboard, which tells me the number of data requests that they've issued, how many have been resolved, and the number that are outstanding. It's a fantastic system. Let's just take a look at one of these issues, the loss of control over your personal data. Data brokers form an intricate web over which information is transferred. They disseminate your data far and wide, making it nearly impossible to track down or control who has access to your personal information. Having your personal information on so many databases, whether the data brokers or the companies that they sell to, puts you at an increased risk of cybercrime. Every year, both the number and scope of data breaches worldwide rise. According to the annual data breach report by the Identity Theft Resource Center, 2023 saw a record number of data breaches, 72% more than the previous record. This means that you and your loved ones are also at a constantly increasing risk of data breaches. There are hundreds of commercial databases that hold your personal information, and the number grows every year. So that's why you want Incogni helping you. You can take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code CONTEXT at incogni.com/context to get 60% off with an annual plan. Again, you can take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code CONTEXT at incogni.com/context for 60% off with an annual plan. We appreciate them sponsoring us. Okay. So I know that your passion, your robot passion, above and beyond your passion to be lazy, is the mopping robots.
Yes. And I guess one thing I should finish out, by the way, and it's a good point. Like if you have a house that has, all or the vast majority of it is carpet, you clearly going to have no interest in the mopping
right.
Robots. And there are a few that are really good. One, it's an older model, and you can find it like on extra awesome sale. For whatever reason, it was a really freak model, and it was around for a long time by iRobot, and it's the S9 Plus. And as these robots got more fancy over time, by the way, they came out with docks. So the robot, early days, you kind of had to plug it into the wall with a charger, kind of like an iPhone. But somewhere along the line, they started making charging docks, so the robot can go and find its little home and put its little butt on the charger and charge and get ready either to keep cleaning if you have a really big house and it needs to charge in between, or just you could put it on a schedule, and that way it would vacuum at whatever time you set it, weekly or daily or whatever. And when they got really fancy at some point, the docks got bigger where it would take all the debris that these little robots suck up. They only had a canister inside them that's relatively small, and it would suck that out of the robot into either a larger canister or a little bag in the docking station. So it would do that automatically for you. So you get to be even lazier. This is just the progression of laziness. It gets greater and greater because now you don't have to empty the dustbin every other time the vacuum goes, because it goes into a bag in the dock, and you can empty it once every 3 months or something like that. Which was nice. But anyway, this S9 Plus, one of the great features about it, and there's been a lot of reviews, it has great suction, like to the point where it's really competitive with a real robot for deep pile carpets. It's one of the only ones that really kind of achieves that. There's a lot of measurements. They measure suction in pascals. And so generally speaking, when you see a robot vacuum with a higher Pascal rating, it purports to be better and have more suction, and it does. But it's a little bit of a loosey-goose number, because it's kind of like the Pascal rating that is generated by the engine and not necessarily what is effectively hitting the floor.
Right.
So I've seen some very high Pascal number robots that are really lame, and some ones that have far lower Pascal ratings but are more effective. And for whatever reason, that S9 Plus, which when it's really on turbo boost mode, is noisy as all get out. But man, that thing really sucks in a good way. That came out wrong. It really
no, it came out perfectly.
It really is a good vacuum for deep pile carpets, and they have newer models and that were finally replaced it. I think their top of the line model is called like a Combo 10 Max, and it may be as good. I haven't seen as many definitive tests on it yet, but that one, if you can get it at a discount and you just have primarily all you care about is deep pile carpets, that was a great unit. I still have it. It's hard to beat that one for just pure carpet.
Yeah, I want to stress, by the way, that John is not basing his opinions on these things on reviews. He is basing his opinion on these robots by having gotten one or two of them and using them and testing them himself. You're like a testing website, except for you don't actually publish your results.
That's right. Except to all my friends that I torture with these results as I do that. Yeah, I've had an obscene number of kind of the flagship units of these, and I've kind of gotten off the pure vacuums because the mopping ones are really more interesting just because of the nature of my house and stuff. So, yeah, that one it's still like the best. Its navigation is pretty good. Like there's all these factors that come out that nobody really writes about that are interesting. Like some people are very sensitive to, there's kind of two levels of obstacle avoidance is what people are calling it now, but it's like the amount of contact the robot makes with stuff in your house, right? And there's some stuff that you maybe don't care about, and then there's some stuff that if it makes contact with is apocalyptically bad. So poop is right. From your animal, from your dog or whatever, if it poops and the robot's on a schedule and it just goes out about its business and mashes into a pile of poop, it's an apocalypse in your house, right? So
listen, or a cat flinging something out of the litter box,
right?
So anyway.
So it would just blithely, especially the older robots, they don't detect any of that. They'll just bash into it and smear it all over the house, and there are, really sad, yet kind of funny, tragic stories about that. So that there's kind of a more modern obstacle avoidance where it'll detect pet poop, it'll detect socks and cables and things like that are strewn and kids' toys and things, and avoid those. So that's one type, but the type that nobody really talks about, which is important for some people I know, is kind of wall and fixture avoidance. Most of these robots will, in the old days, they just full steam ahead bash into the wall, and it has a bumper, right? The bumper absorbs it and told the robot, okay, go in a different direction. And that's how it would navigate. And over time, it would scuff up the molding along your floor and things of that nature, and into some of your furniture. It'll bash into the legs of your tables and chairs and couches and stuff like that. And so those are two different skills. And everyone kind of treats them in an umbrella, and they're not. And so some robots are unbelievably good at like avoiding those kind of hard obstacles and never touching, but are completely blithely oblivious to things like poop, and vice versa. So I don't know why people don't put those in two different categories. I personally don't care if things get bumped into, like on the walls and stuff, but I have a friend, Walt, and he has nice furniture that's kind of fancy, and he doesn't want it bumping into that stuff. So for him, it makes a big difference, and it may for others, but some of this stuff is better than others. But that S9, it's good. It will make a map of your room, of the house. It takes a long time relative to the more modern ones, and it gently touches things. And I don't think that one does poop avoidance though. So if you got a pet, that's not a good time.
By the way, I miraculously don't know if either of mine do poop avoidance because my dog hasn't pooped in the house yet. So
that's awesome.
So yay me. But
yeah,
I will. Okay. As you were talking about this, I was thinking, of course, about my vacuums because I'm a human, and my 4 or 5 year old Dbot Osmo Pro, I think it's probably 5 years old, Dbot Osmo Pro 930. It's very gentle when it bumps. It has a bumper, but because it's using LiDAR, it slows down whenever it's approaching anything to bump into it. My Dyson is also very gentle. It uses a visual. I don't even think my Dyson uses LiDAR, which is probably part of why it sucks at navigating. But the point is, it's also very gentle. So it seems to me that gentleness or lack of gentleness is a choice on the um, part of these robot makers, because I've got a 5-year-old device that does gentle very well.
Yeah, the newer devices are far more gentle, but one of the things you think about with this is, and it depends how often you run it, but it's an aggregated thing, right? Like it may be gentle enough that it bumpers your molding, and one or two hits of it are no big deal. But once you've run it thousands of times, you'll start to notice, oh, there's a little line,
Oh,
along the molding.
That's
So
probably
the
a fair point.
aggregation of it matters. And the newer stuff, it relies on, various machine learnings for both a combination of the visual and the lidar tech as to how it discerns stuff. Like some of the machine learning on the absolute bleeding edge, most recent units are like the one that I have. It's a combo mop and vacuum called the 3i.
By whom?
The numeral three. The company name is 3i, and the unit is called the S10 Pro Ultra or something like that. Here, let me actually see what the what the model name is. It's the 3i
Letter I?
S10 Ultra robot vacuum and mop.
Letter I?
By what?
The letter I?
Yeah, 3 Indigo S10 Ultra. And so it has really, when it scans your house, it does it in an amazing amount of time. Like I said, it was, took maybe a minute for 900 square feet. It just kind of doesn't look at it just generally walks into the room, kind of moves around and then goes to the next room. And it uses LiDAR to help shape the room. But as it does that over time, it will identify, oh, there's a sock, and it will put a sock on the map, and it will, oh, that's your refrigerator. I can tell that's a refrigerator. And it will put furniture and fixtures in a 3D map of your home that it builds over time. And it's kind of disturbingly accurate as to how it can detect that. So some of these, the tech of how it employs machine learning detection has gotten better just in the last year, and definitely in the last 4 years. So if you have something a little bit like 3 years old, it's not going to be quite as good as some of the latest stuff. But because of how good some of this stuff has gotten, the touching is even less. Now, the 3i has gotten better since I've owned it, and I got it as a Kickstarter. So I think I got it like a month before it was generally released. And I have another mopping robot called the Eufy S1 Pro, which is a great mop too.
Well, before we talk about that, the 3i company is at 3itech.com. I do have a link in the show notes to the 310 Ultra. Just wanted to get that out there before we blaze past it.
So, yeah, it's actually on a great sale right now. Because of if you get it on Amazon, there's a Prime Spring sale, and it's like almost a third off.
Yeah, it's $12.99.99. List price is $18.99.99, and it seems like they primarily distribute through Amazon.
Yep, they do. The Eufy S1 Pro, which also is a mopping and vacuuming robot, it's really good, and it came out a little bit before the 3i. But it is the king of no touch. It's almost like an annoying kid that, says, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm fascinated how it gets within like a millimeter and it swings around and just never touches anything. So for Walt, like that was a great robot because if you remember back to the days when you were a kid, it may have crawled underneath your parents', dining room table with all the legs of all the chairs and stuff. It will navigate through that mess, that octopus nest of pylons, and never touch anything there. It's just shocking how good it is. So it's they both have machine learning, right? And they both are doing and the Eufy is an amazing job of detecting, and building a 3D world with telling you where your refrigerators are, where your washing machine are, where your dishwasher are. It will actually, like the 3i will lay that out, but yeah, it will tap more into things very gently, but it's just the king of not touching, if that's really important to you, is the Eufy.
Got it.
It's really pretty.
I see that
Pretty
Eufy
cool.
also has some pretty compact robot mowers too.
So that's a great point too. Like a lot of these robots are like, I don't know, 2, 3 to 4 inches tall. Like the thickest and tallest one is probably yours with the Dyson, but having them be the skinnier they are, the better they are at getting underneath, not just like couches and stuff, but a lot of people, you have a kickboard in the kitchen, and those are rarely plumb, right? That's where contractors always take shortcuts and things aren't level, and your eye doesn't really pick up that there's, an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch or sometimes a full inch difference from one side of the room to the other. And so what'll happen is these robots will kind of start going underneath that kickboard under your cabinets. And as it goes, the headroom gets less and less and less, and they'll get jammed stuck.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're smart enough to kind of wedge their way back out. But the lower and skinnier they are, the less that happens. And the Eufy is also probably the lowest of all these kind of modern robots. It's just got the lowest profile and does the best job of not getting stuck anywhere.
And you're talking about which Eufy you're talking about?
The Eufy S1 Pro. The
Okay.
S1 Pro.
S1 Pro. I do have a link to that in the show notes too.
And that one's probably the best at kind of the cleanliness of its mopping. So maybe this is a good time to stop and say, all right, so if you're into mopping, a lot of robots purport to mop, and they're all liars, almost all liars. There was a granddaddy mop that iRobot made back, I think it was around 2006 or so. And I have the first one and I have the last one they made. And when they stopped making it around, I think it was around like 2009, 10, they stopped making what they called the iRobot Scuba. And it was a true mop. And what do I mean by true mop? A lot of the robots you'll see that say they do mopping are lying, because what they are is they're just dirt spread equalizers. They'll either have kind of a Swiffer pad that vibrates, or they'll have two little pads that spin like almost like what you would use to buff a car with. And if you buff a car, you know what you're doing. You're not cleaning, the wax you put on the car. You're spreading that wax equally along the entire body of the car. And that's what these kind of scrubbers do. The Narwhal is mop is kind of famous for that they have these rotating brushes. But what it really does, it's not cleaning your floor. If it goes over a bunch of ketchup, it's smearing those. It can pick up a little bit, but only so much in those little pads. And then basically it's spreading the ketchup equally all over your entire floor,
Yep.
pretending it's cleaning it. So they're not true mops. What I call the true mops, it started with the Scuba, and what it did was kind of shocking from a mechanical engineering standpoint. It would first have the vacuuming element that's normal in these, which is like a suction and a rotating brush to kick up, dust and things like that. And it would also, behind that, it would lay down some water that it mixes with detergent that you would put in it. Back then, you mix the detergent in with the clean water in a clean water tank yourself. And then it would squeegee. It has a roller that would squeegee that part of the floor up, like you were squeegee cleaning your car window or something like that, and suck that up. And importantly, it would take that dirty water and put it in a separate dirty water tank in the robot. That's the important thing, because some of these kind of Swiffer mops things, the Swiffer will go back to the dock and it will get cleaned on the dock with some scrubbers in the dock to clean those rotating pads and whatnot, and suck that water into a dirty water tank in the dock. But then it just sends the robot back out to, again, more evenly spread dirt all over your floor.
Filth.
And it comes back every once in a while to clean those pads. It doesn't maintain the dirty water in the robot itself as it's picking up the dirty water.
Right. So in your opinion, are the current top of the line mops do they meet with your approval?
So a lot of what people call the top of the line mops, like Narwhal, is still known for this, and even iRobot, they sell what they call the Combo 10, but they have these Swiffer, they're glorified Swiffers, they're dirt spreaders, and there's really only three currently out that I call the true mops, and it's the 3i S10 Ultra, which we mentioned, which is really a crazy. We haven't even gotten into the craziest features of that. The Eufy S10, sorry, the Eufy S1 Pro, and then a robot by Eureka called the J20, and they all have the same kind of mechanism, which is they have this mechanism where they lay down clean water with mixed with detergent, they squeegee it up, and they keep it in a dirty water tank that's separate in the robot itself. And when that robot gets tired or filled up or the battery runs out or whatever, goes back to the dock, and it evacuates that dirty water into a dirty water collection tank in the dock, and then it gets injected with more detergent and clean water in its clean water tank so it can go back out and clean even more. So in a lot of ways, it's better than even a human robot. Human robot. That's weird. A human cleaning with a regular mop, because even a human, when you're cleaning with a regular mop, yeah, the first time you drop the mop on the floor, it's got clean water and detergent, but then you dump it back into the bucket, right? And you're just mixing dirty water back in and hoping it's roughly cleaner than the rest of the floor where you're mashing that dirty water. So these things, when they clean your floor, it's a level of clean that your floor has never gotten. And in some places, it's kind of shocking how long it takes to actually suck all the dirt out of even like a wood floor or a tile floor. I've run some of these things for like after I had construction done. It took 2 to 6 weeks to get to the point where even the robot would go out and it'd come back and you check the dirty water tank and it was mostly clear instead of just disgusting dirty water. So the level of clean you get with these true mopping robots that have a separate dirty water tank and a clean water tank in the robot is just orders of magnitude better than any human can do at this point, which is what makes them so interesting to me. Like this is a level of clean that you just don't see anywhere outside of a robot that has separate dirty and clean water tanks.
Fair enough. I also have a link to the Eureka J20 in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the one cool thing about maximizing is, so like I said, if you're interested in and these robots will vacuum really great, and when they go over like little area throw rugs that we have, the Eufy and both the 3i are really good. That while they're going over it, they're gentle, and then once they're on top of it and they know they're kind of on top of the throw rug, the vacuum part will kick up so that they vacuum better, and they're decent at avoiding tassels, and that's part of the object detection. Some of these robots are good at detecting tassels on throw rugs, and some of them aren't, right? So depending upon, they can get stuck. So they're really good. I think the for people that use Macs, you may only have one choice, especially like for older people. This is something nobody really talks about, but I find that older folks, they don't want to run any apps. They're like, I don't want to run an app on you can get them a fancy vacuum, and they don't want to put on a schedule, because if they're at home, this thing will annoy them because it's noisy and things. Even if it's not terribly noisy, it's just underfoot, right? They don't want it going off on random, and they don't have a particular schedule that they want to set it to. And but they're also unwilling to launch the app and run it because it's intimidating for them. So if you can do a voice command for your mom or grandma or whatever, it completely changes things for them. Like, because then they just say, "Hey, robot, clean the room or clean the house," and it'll go, and that they're happy with dealing with. And if they have Macs, the only one that has voice control via kind of like an iPhone is the Eufy on the Apple side. They all can do it via Alexa and Google and stuff like that. But that's the only one that kind of works with the Apple ecosystem if voice control is important to you. And it's probably the best cleaning. Like, it does the best scrubbing on the floor, but all of them are so good in the sense that they have this clean, dirty water thing. If you start cleaning with them regularly, it's kind of like, meh, they're already like awesome clean, so that one is a bit better gets less relevant weirdly because they're maintaining. If you maintain with it over time, it's just everything is so clean that it kind of doesn't matter.
That makes sense.
But the I'll just leave it at the Eureka. You can get it cheaper. It's good. It's not quite as sophisticated as the others. It has a bigger cleaning pad, but it's not as good as going from carpet to tile floor transitions because it has a special pad only that can let it do that, whereas the others are smart enough just to lift their mopping pad up when it gets to carpet, and you don't have to think about it. It's one less thing for you to think about than putting a special pad on it. But what's awesome about the 3i S10 Ultra is it's so I had to buy it instantly when I heard about this because I just couldn't believe that anyone bothered to make such an insane device. So again, maximizing my laziness, one of the problems with these robots is okay, it's doing a great job, it's cleaning, but after you run it for a month or two, you have a dirty water tank and it's dirty water that's sitting. So it smells atrocious. Now, the good thing is none of them smell just sitting there because they're basically gasket vacuum sealed while there. But when you take the dirty water tank out because you want to empty it and clean it, and you open it, holy mackerel, it's atrocious. The stank is something special. So and you don't do it that often, and it's certainly easier than maintaining it than mopping thousands of square feet yourself. So it's a huge win, but it's a chore. It's another chore. And so the 3i, the way they deal with this, oh, and the other thing is you also have to, like, it'll eventually, as it fills the robot to go out and mop your floor, it has to fill it with clean water and detergent. And all of them, you put like a detergent bottle in there and it'll last for a very long time. But, the water runs out and you have to go and take it to the faucet and fill up, a few liters worth of water and put it back. And so you're hauling water back and forth, probably, once a month or something like that. So it's not the end of the world, but it's an unpleasant chore. So 3i does away with this in two ways. So one, it has a built-in dehumidifier. So you never have to fill this thing with water. It just sucks water out of the atmosphere, condenses it inside, and it has purified, like there's no chlorine, there's no nothing. Like you could drink this water probably. I wouldn't recommend it, but you it's just distilled water from the air that it's pulling. So you don't have to fill this thing. And moreover, when the dirty water comes back and it evacuates the dirty water, it will essentially, almost reverse osmosis this. It steams it and separates the water vapor into pure water that it condenses and reuses.
Wow.
So it's just reusing the same water. And then all you're left with is dry debris, right? The gunk that it cleaned up and separated from the water. And it just shoves that into the normal dustbin inside of it.
You're talking about the Eufy, right?
No, this is the 3i S10 Ultra.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So you never have to dump dirty water because there is no dirty water left. There's only dust that it did the reverse osmosis from. So it's awesome because it's so lazy. Like I never fill it with water. I never have to empty the dirty water. And, it's reducing the sludge or whatever that was on your floor into basically dry dust. And it takes a long time to fill that dustbin at that rate. So it's unbelievable. There's some really advanced ones. Like there's a version of the Eureka J20 that is integrated into a combination washer dryer. It sits at the bottom of it. And the reason they combined it into that thing is, one, it gives it a little home, so it's out of the way. It tucks in underneath your washer dryer. But it uses the piping of your clothes washer to evacuate the dirty water that it collects. And then since it's all plumbed into the water line, it can fill the water tank to essentially its dock for that robot, which is, it's one more complicated thing for your home. It's one more thing where you could get a leak and something goes wrong. And it's cool. It's totally awesome. But it's more involved versus this. You could plug anywhere in your house and the thing just pulls water out of the air,
I wonder,
and you never,
did
it's
you
amazing.
like, does it work in Arizona?
So I'm in a really dry place, and the lowest humidity that you could set it for it still to work, I think, is 30%, which is pretty dry. Um, and
That's crazy.
we generally run it at 34% or higher, and the tank is always full in this thing. I do nothing. I've had this thing now for 6 months, I think. I have done
I
nothing.
love that, man. I love that.
It's crazy. So overall, like there are other things that some of these other robots do a little bit better. Like I said, the Eufy is the
Sure.
king of not touching. It's a little bit lower, so it gets under some things better. It is probably got a little bit better detection and stuff like that, but it cannot compete with the lazy factor of the 3i. I mean, and the 3i still does an amazing job of cleaning like the floor and all that stuff. It's still very, very good, and it lies a little bit. Like they always say, well, it's 13,000 pascals of suction, which, maybe it's that part is true somewhere internally in the mechanism, but it's a very middle of the road, vacuum versus like it can't compete with that S9, that iRobot S9 Plus that I mentioned that was like the king of just vacuuming carpets and stuff. But it's fine. Your house will be just obscenely clean with this thing if you run it regularly. And the other thing is, oh, this is the other. There's two other things about this robot that are kind of crazy magic. So one, it has this laser, green laser that it shows onto the ground, so it can detect little bumps of dust and sludge or grime better. And it's like the Terminator going around your floor just with this green freaking laser that it shoots out to pick up the dust. But because it has this green laser, what I find is it's better than any of the other robots at night vacuuming. And you may say, well, that's insane. Why would I want to run this at night? Because I like to sleep at night. And unless you run the vacuum at its highest setting, which maybe you need if you have a lot of pile carpets or something like that. But if you just run it at its normal, kind of, it has a standard vacuum. And the mopping is very quiet. It's essentially silent if it's outside your room and you have the door closed, at night, to your bedroom. But yeah, it runs so quiet that we just run it at night. And because of the green laser, it can see well enough that I don't have to leave lights on or anything in the house, and it will do night vacuuming, which I found, really useful. And for pet people, this is one other crazy feature about this thing is it has a special hair shredder. So when it goes back in the dock, it has these little like saw teeth that retract in the dock, so it spins the brush to shred hair that would otherwise get tangled in the beater.
Right.
Now, it's not perfect. You're still going to get hair in it, but it does a decent job of, again, minimizing the amount of times that you have to deal with it. So I have from people in the house that have a lot more hair than I do. It's an issue in this house, to put it mildly. The tangles that happen. So yeah, this has been doing a great job. Again, the lazy factor for this thing is just off the charts.
That's thank you, man. That's a solid breakdown, and I definitely learned some stuff. By the way, my Dyson V11, which is cordless, has laser thingy for its hardwood attachment, and that makes a significant difference for me manually vacuuming. So I can only imagine what the robot will do with that information.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it. The only thing I can tell you, I don't know how much it improves its cleaning ability in any one spot or anything like that, but it is the only robot I've had where I could run it in pure darkness and it just is not an issue. Oh, the other thing is, if you're morbidly curious, it has a mode that you could turn on. It's not on by default, and there's a privacy setting, so you can keep the camera on and off. But you can basically tap into the camera as it vacuums and see what it's vacuuming,
Hmm.
or you can take over remotely. So you could be on another side of the planet, right? And you're just curious, is like your dog okay, or has anyone broken into your house? And you can just remote control drive this robot around your house to see, like, oh, did I leave the oven on, and get it, near that, and you'll see it. It's kind of neat.
Cool.
With the little sentry mode, I guess it has.
All right. We probably need to cut this topic there. Let me take a second out and tell you about Rogue Amoeba. Rogue Amoeba has a wide array of apps to harness audio on the Mac. They are a great maker of Mac apps. From recording and routing audio to gaining complete control over sound with app level effects. Looking at their website, you've got Airfoil, you've got Audio Hijack, Farrago, Fission, Loopback, Piezo, and SoundSource. I'm going to tell you about a couple of these. Audio Hijack. Audio Hijack is an amazing app that lets you piece together where sound is coming from and where it's going to. We make this podcast with Audio Hijack. We also use Loopback, which allows us to do cable-free audio routing. Then you've got Piezo, which is a charmingly simple recording app. And then Farrago gives you basically a digital soundboard. I mean, like, all this stuff is fantastic. These people have been doing Mac apps, Mac audio apps for years. They are an amazing company. Their software is terrific. We would absolutely love it if you would check them out. So you can learn all about Rogue Amoeba's software at macaudio.com/context. Your Mac will thank you. And through the end of May, Context Machine listeners can save 20% off of any purchase by using code CONTEXT. Right? 20% off any of these apps. If you have any audio issue that you need to tackle for your app, you should absolutely check out Rogue Amoeba's software. So we want to thank them very much for sponsoring us. And thanks. All right, John. Thank you again for talking about you seriously are the expert on the Mops. So thanks for sharing your information with us.
Thanks for giving me an outlet to talk about a topic that nobody else wants to talk about.
So you have also been going on about 3D printers recently. And do you even have one yet?
No, a couple of my friends do and have for a long time, and I've always been waiting for, like, the Jesus 3D printer, kind of like, I was waiting for the Jesus phone before the original iPhone came out, and the things that I wanted the 3D printer to do were, they were never all of them were never in one box. And I probably should have gotten into it before, because there's still wonderful things you can do. But some of the features that I was really interested in until recently were never all in one place. And I think there's a couple of printers recently that have just been announced or been out for a very short time that get to that level that I'm excited to get into it. So I'm coming at it as a novice. So I think it might be useful for other people that have been, thinking about it and never kind of jumping into it. How about you? Have you done any 3D printing or?
No, I don't. I don't own one. I have been in their presence from the standpoint of getting demos back when I was at the Mac Observer. I would get demos from some companies, and I definitely know people that have them, but I don't have the time to delve into another hobby. So I have not messed with 3D printing, but so why don't I've seen you throwing tons of links to these things. So what the hell's going on with the 3D printing world?
Well, one of the reasons is, like I said, there's two printers, and one that was just announced recently. One by Bamboo is called the H2D, and it like this was maybe a few days ago now that they finally announced it and people are waiting for it. And it has a whole bunch of features. I could get into the topic, but I think, what's useful is to say, well, what's a 3D printer good for other than just, the sheer curiosity of, mushing plastic into interesting shapes. Um, and for my use case, I have like two and a half things that are interesting. One of which I think weirdly may be of interest to you, and I know it's of another friend of ours that we have in common is interesting. Is like doing like Dungeons and Dragons figurines and stuff like that. Like the resolution on these printers has gotten so good that you can not only make these wonderful figurines at all kinds of sizes and edit them. Like a lot of these things, to your point, like people don't have the time, energy, or frankly the skill to do their own 3D objects. That's a really deep dive and an artistic dive at that
I
to
would
make these
imagine
things.
that
But
most people are downloading um, the schematics that their
yes,
printer uses from a variety of online resources.
yeah, and some of these printers have like them integrated. So like Bamboo has like the equivalent of like an app store, but for 3D objects, and you can download figurines. You can a lot of people print their own iPhone cases. But here's another one that you may be interested in, and I am interested in organizational tools. So like for organizing your drawers and pens and kind of desk accessory stuff, they have these guys that have been like working on refining these systems, like these grid systems, and you could plug in two, three, four like Lego block size different holders for pens and all kinds of cool doodads like that. And some that you can make fit perfectly in your desk drawer, others that they hang and have these systems where they see all the nuts and bolts. So if you got like a a shop with tools and stuff, you can really organize the heck out of it. But the level of OCD you could achieve in printing your own kind of organizational tools for your desk and for your kind of workshop are just off the hook. And I'm very interested in some of those. And then the third area where I'm kind of interested is some engineering projects that I've been working on for a while that vary all over the place. But if you're into kind of, there's a really rich retro scene where people like revive old Macs and rebuild them and get them. Sometimes they upgrade the heck out of them, or try to run old, try to run new things like a natural language model. Saw someone try to get running on an old power Mac.
Wow.
But people will build their own, so they'll like customize brackets to put modern hardware instead of an old hard drive, a SCSI hard drive that's no longer available. They'll put like an adapter that puts in an SD card with an adapter into an old SE30 or something like that. And other people will just outright generate new computers using some old they'll use like an old design that they really like the old lamp iMac, that moved around, and they'll put a modern M4 iMac in there, but they have to customize brackets and things to make it fit. And so they'll print their own things of that nature. So all kinds of cool engineering projects in that scene. I have other reasons for that, but like sometimes people that work on cars, like they'll do cool custom things, like they want an awesome cup holder that no one really made for them, and they'll print a 3D like insert that fits into a vent or something that works as a cup holder or a phone holder, and just all these cool things. Or radar detectors, people will make special mounts that make them basically invisible and mount them what looks like just a custom thing into their roof line, and is hidden and is a nice place to hold them. And you can make all these amazing things, and a lot of them are pre-made where people have been working on this for a long time, and you could just download it and print it out, and that's great, or just adapt it a little bit for yourself. So yeah, those are my three big use cases, or two and a half. I'm not to the figurine thing probably as much, but the kind of one of my things I've always wanted to do is, because I used to work at Next Computer, is to print a 12-inch Next Cube. And they have actually models of them that are pretty accurate that you could download. But to change the internals to put a modern computer into it, right? And
Mm,
that
sure.
just a fun little hobby project for myself. And uh, as it turns out, not a lot of these. The next cube was 12 inches by 12 inches by 12. It was a little actually off from 12 inches, but you need basically a foot cubed to print it, and that's a very large bed. And most 3D printers up until now um, didn't have the room for that. So that's one of the things that was holding me back is just to get these things to a size where, for the types of projects I had, they had a large enough capacity to print things of that size. So uh, that's become more prevalent and more affordable. I mean, they've had obviously 3D printing has blown up, and particularly for industries like the car manufacturers, like McLaren and some other high-end makes will do Koenigsegg. They do a lot of 3D part manufacturing on things, one to make them super light, but also to make parts that would otherwise be impossible to do
Sure.
without kind of the impossible 3D printing. So, and those are obviously large parts that they can print, but those are industrial sized machines that cost a lot. So, bringing this down to the kind of more consumer level, um, it, it, that has a lot of this capacity is kind of a relatively newer thing.
That makes that makes sense. I don't I get people wanting to be able to make things. My problem is that the things that are made tend to feel like, I'm going to put this a different way. I'm more interested in the making than I am in the using of the things that have been made by a 3D printer, at least with current quality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to show you a few things like for like the desk organizers, man. They, if you, I don't know if you ever go to like what's that place? Like a lot of these kind of stores that sell organizational tools like the
Sure.
closet. What the heck is that
Container
closet
store.
store? Container store, right? Like they have cool things that help you do this. So the quality of stuff that you could print organizationally, in my opinion, is at the same level or higher than you could get at those stores. And
Hmm.
certainly, the modular systems that you can do, I haven't even seen available at the container store at the level that people have achieved with this stuff. So part of that is also just the quality of these printing tools has gotten better, and the a number of materials you could use, and frankly, like kind of multi materials. This new printer by Bamboo. And again, this is not the first. In some ways, it's kind of like a Macintosh moment. It's not like, oh, it's the first GUI to exist. The Mac was not the first GUI to exist. I mean, the Lisa existed before that, and the Xerox pioneered stuff like that, and Douglas Engelbart did stuff at SRI before that. So it's not like it's a first, but it's one of those instances where it's packaged in a way that, at least some early adopter mere mortals can make some use of it. So I think, maybe getting to that point where there's a threshold moment like that. And so there's two things that they printed in the demo. If you go to the Bamboo site, and they're all kind of marketing promotional materials, but I saw a bunch of people reviewing these things that have made them. And there's this one girl. So it can print soft material like the foam that you can make for that people make like Nike makes sneakers out of, and some of these like high end. If you're in, there's a whole sneaker scene, by the way, where people pay tens of thousands of dollars for these custom 3D sneakers. Well, it uses that same foam, and you could print a sneaker. And so this wonderful maker girl, she says, I'm just going to try and print it using this was it like PTU? I forget the name of the material, but it's this like foam spongy material. She's like, so um the size of the standard sneaker was like for, I guess, for someone with a bigger foot. She scales the sneaker down in 3D just to be her foot size. She puts in the color of the material that she wants, which is like this cool like blue, prints it, comes out of the printer, she puts it on, she walks around, she's like, these are great sneakers.
Hmm.
And the other thing that's amazing about this is not so the model is just, it comes, it's an example that they let you print of this model for free that comes with it. And it's a, it's an out there looking sneaker. To emphasize the 3D-ness of it. But yeah, she's walking around with this and other people walking around with it. And the cool thing is like the foam that sneaker makers make, it's solid foam. But because you can do this, you can, instead of filling it with solid foam, you could fill it with like 50% foam or 80% foam or 20% foam to make the cushion feel different for you. So you could just like play with like making, 30 pairs of sneakers for yourself until you make like this just perfectly supportive for you shoe, which I could see, just messing around with just because of the curiosity of it. So it's all of a sudden like the level of things you can do with this and that other people are providing that you just download and the customization you could do with it is kind of crazy.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyway, the two one I'll tell you the few of the things that I always wanted a printer that can print at least some color and multicolor thing, and that's that. There have been printers that do that, but they're unbelievably slow because of the way they change things. And there's two printers that kind of are the top of the field. There's one called the Prusa XL, and it's got a cool mechanism in that it has 5 separate print heads, and it can just put one away and grab another one with a different material in it and start printing with it. And that's pretty cool. But you're limited to basically 5 materials, and it's a really pricey 3D printer. It can print about 13, 14-inch cubed space, which is very large. But you're gonna end up spending like $5,500 for this thing. And new BAM,
I see that it starts at $19.99.
Yes, but that's like with like one print head, and the whole point of this thing is not to get it with one print head. You're going to get it with the 5. So by the time you add the 5 and you add an enclosure, so that's another thing that's important is to get an enclosure with ventilation, because some of the materials that you can print with this, like if you want to print with ABS, which you probably don't want to do regularly, but maybe you've refined a prototype and you finally get it perfect and you want, like an ABS version of it, like Lego is made out of ABS, which is like indestructible. It's very toxic when you print it. So you want good ventilation in an enclosure if you're going to print with some of these other types of materials. So that's an extra, 600 or whatever for that. And so by the time you add all the bells and whistles that you want, it's going to get up there. And I'm not, pooping on it. It's a sophisticated machine, and it's one of the first to do that kind of thing. But it's not cheap. And the Bamboo comes with only 2 print heads, which is still very useful. And it's probably faster if you're printing only 2 colors. But what's cool about the Bamboo is it has like these spools that can hold multiple colors and materials. Like you can print in carbon fiber. You can print in this kind of foam and stuff. And a lot of when you print, you can't just print an object because, like, you can't print like a pyramid upside down, right? Like it needs support depending upon how things overhang as it prints out this stuff. So you need support materials, which is a common second material that you need. But anyway, what's cool about the Bamboo is it's a lot more materials you could print, although it will take more time if you print something in 16 colors versus the 5 that the Prusa has. So if you print 5 colors or less, the Prusa is probably going to be as fast or faster. It's always going to be faster. But the problem with the Prusa is once you reach 5, you're done. You can't print 6 or 7 or 8. And with the Bamboo, you can. And the Bamboo, they did something else that's interesting. And for a lot of like pros, they're going to scoff at it and say, they're building a toaster fridge. But what they also did is with this H2D, you can get a version that comes with a laser cutter. and you could, emboss metal or cut wood into like a little CNC machine, and it also comes with a cutter, so you could cut leather and carve things out or carve stickers out, and it will do that, and even a little plotter, so you could put a pen in and it will draw, art that you have like that. So if you're doing that a little bit, but you can get some functionality, and you have either a limited space or a limited amount of effort you want to invest in that, it's kind of a cool combo unit. And it, unlike a lot of these toaster fridge combinations, this is not the first one to ever try to combine those. It seemed from at least the early reviews that it does those decently well. So, it's the first unit that's got me excited that I think I'm going to actually order it.
Cool.
So others may want to check it out. It's the Bamboo H2D.
Yeah, I've got a link to that and the Prusa XL in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, John. We're actually over. We got to go.
Shocking.
Yeah. All right. So let me do this. I got to get over to it. There we go. Boy, professionals, top men. That's this week's Context Machine. If you have anything to comment on, add, or question, you can write us at contextmachinepodcast@gmail.com. Our bandwidth is provided by Cashfly. The bass is by Dr. Boom, recorded just for this show. I want to thank again Incogni and Rogue Amoeba, the wonderful Mac software company, for sponsoring us this week. And I also want to thank John Keat for stepping up and stepping in for Jeff. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Bryan.